Hello everyone, this is part 11 of What If Naruto Was Abused and Obtained Mokuton, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
To be back in this country once more was a terrible experience. No, village. Oto wasn't really a village, was it? There were hideouts stationed everywhere in this place. Secret bases hidden from prying eyes where Orochimaru conducted his business without any disturbances. Naruto didn't hide his displeasure. He felt sick to the stomach. The anger and hatred he has suppressed for so long threatened to break free and burst into the open. Having flashes of the past, Sasuke asked in a mocking tone. You trying to pick on me, team? Naruto then sighed. I have unpleasant memories. Wouldn't mind if we end up destroying all the hideouts in this place. And the people inside. Naruto smiled sadly. You'll realize most of them are no longer human, and even if they still are, they're just begging to be killed. I saw them many times. Just wishing they could be killed. Sasuke didn't sympathize with anyone, but he understood that Naruto had a difficult time in this place. Remember the mission. Of course, who do you think? Naruto trailed off, sensing his chakra being called. I'm being summoned. Who? Toad's most likely. He created a clone. I'm leaving this behind to be able to find you, he said before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Why would the Toad suddenly summon you in the middle of a mission? Sasuke asked the clone. I don't know. It must be serious. They rarely do so. I hope it is nothing. We have a serious mission with us. Sasuke then smirked. I wouldn't complain if I do get the glory. Team, I'll let you be embarrassed by Orochimaru if he is around. Hiruzen stared at his former student, not with anger, but with a look of disappointment. Sadness even. To think he had failed one of his students to such a level that he would end up hating Konoha to the point of trying to destroy it. Perhaps this was how this cruel world fated him over his failures. But this just summed up his life. He should have done something about Orochimaru long ago. It had been pointed out to him long ago, even when Orochimaru was younger, that there was evil about him. But Hiruzen had been blind. Even when he opened his eyes, he'd thought his favored pupil would eventually change. How wrong he was. Tobirama would have been disappointed in him. No, he was sure his sensei was. He wouldn't take long to know. After all, he was willing to put an end to this charade, even if it meant sacrificing himself in the end. For this village, Hiruzen was going to give his last breath. Don't look at me like that, sensei, you'll make me feel bad, Orochimaru started, with a small grin on his lips. You still call me sensei? Well, you are my sensei. You taught me a lot about snakes. You led me to this path. If not for your knowledge, I likely wouldn't have come this far. Hiruzen doubted it. Orochimaru was a once-in-a-generation genius. A pity, he'd become evil. Hiruzen would have made him Hokage. Maybe even if he hadn't realized the extent of Orochimaru's lust for power, he would have still made this person Hokage. Your arrogance knows no boundaries, Orochimaru. You actually think you can destroy the hidden leaf. Smart, yes, but it is your arrogance that will ultimately cost you, Hiruzen said, ignoring Orochimaru's mind games. Hiruzen removed his robe and took a stance. But sensei, I don't want you to die. I want you to witness the destruction of the hidden leaf. Destruction. Can't you see you're losing? Orochimaru laughed. Sensei, you're not in my position to speak what I see. The numbers we are losing are nothing. You have yet to see all my cards. Hiruzen narrowed his eyes. Those words had a chilling effect on him. What could Orochimaru be talking about? He knew there was still the Jinchuriki to appear, but what else was he talking about? The Jinchuriki alone was a cause for concern. It didn't take long for the Kyuubi to cause the destruction it caused. The one tail was much weaker, but still a Beiyu nonetheless. I like that look, Orochimaru hissed gleefully. And sensei, you're going to have the grand view as I destroy the hidden leaf. I just want you to watch. Enough of this, Orochimaru. Come. Hiruzen said, taking a stance. As you wish. Orochimaru didn't lunge at his sensei, he held out his left hand. Multiple snakes burst out. They increased in size and length, stretching toward his sensei. Given their size, they quickly hit the ground and just slithered toward the old man. It was not advisable fighting atop of the Hokage Tower. It was an important building. It would only get destroyed if he fought here. Hiruzen watched the large snakes, bundled together in their hisses as they snaked toward him in menacing glory. He dashed along the edges of the top of the tower, just as they were about to reach him. The snakes followed him and he held out his right hand, summoning a large shuriken. As he continued to make a run from the snakes, he hurled the shuriken toward the center of the snakes. Soon, the snakes reached him and just as they were about to bite him, he disappeared in a puff of smoke, replaced by a large shuriken planted with explosive tags. The snakes couldn't stop themselves from taking a bite at the shuriken. The moment they did so, their tags exploded. The heads of the snakes exploded, pieces sent flying as their bodies caught flames. Orochimaru's eyes shifted toward the middle where the old man was. He saw more tags and then quickly detached himself from the snakes and jumped back. The second he landed, he sensed a spike of chakra from above. The tags hadn't been set off. A dummy by his sensei. The old man was in midair, jumping toward one of the pillars with his hands around his mouth. Fire style, dragon's breath. Hiruzen's bloated mouth expelled chakra converted into flames. He released it in the form of a stream of flames, burning in the air as they traveled toward his former student. Seeing the attack coming all the way, Orochimaru responded by clapping his hands together. He released a powerful gusts of wind, so powerful it left cracks on the tower as it moved toward the incoming attack. The jutsu collided in midair, exploding into a fiery of crimson flames that formed a large ball above the Hokage Tower. Orochimaru wasn't bothered about the attention it would bring. He did worry someone could just attack now. Where were there those damn sound for? Were they not yet done with Gaara? He had moved impatiently. But who could blame him? He had missed his sensei and couldn't help from going to greet him knowing the old man wouldn't want anyone to fight him. Sensing his sensei jump away, Orochimaru dashed toward him. As he sped past the rotting bodies of the snakes, the explosive tags glowed. He cursed. Boom! The volume of explosion caught him, but what saved him from getting incinerated was the shockwave that slammed into him. It sent him crashing into one of the pillars. He crashed into it, breaking and was sent tumbling to the streets. He fell into the empty streets with his face, and quickly lifted his head, grinning along the way. That was sneaky, sensei. Hiruzen then watched Orochimaru get up in the most unnatural way. Naruto was probably right. He was barely human. No person could get up like that. What have you done to yourself, Orochimaru? There was no amount of hate his tone. Even when staring at the student of his who has turned his back on Konoha and was now attacking it. Kukukukuku. Orochimaru crackled loudly. Nothing bad, sensei. Without warning, he dashed toward the old man. Just when he was closer, his neck stretched out, rushing toward his sensei. This act surprised Hiruzen, but not enough that he couldn't act. He quickly jumped, lifting his right foot and weaved it toward the snake's head. The foot slammed into Orochimaru's head, but the second it did so, an explosion of a mist occurred. It was dark purple. Hiruzen quickly tried to jump away, but he ended up inhaling some of it. You shouldn't have done that, sensei. A sense of dread slapped Hiruzen hard when Orochimaru said those words with a sinister grin. Poison. Bingo. Orochimaru returned his head his shoulders and then dashed toward his sensei. But before he could reach the old man, Jiraiya suddenly flashed in front of him. The Toad Sage punched him so hard in the chest, Orochimaru forgot to breathe, spitting out liquids from his mouth. His former friend followed this up by a brutal kick to the temple. There was so much strength in the kick that his skin teared, revealing the skin of his host. Had he been normal, his skull would have cracked. He loudly hissed, being sent rocketing toward a building without control of his body. He crashed into a wall with his back, hissing in pain. Arg! Orochimaru hissed once more. Jiraiya wasn't letting up. A kunai stabbed him in the chest, and then a punch on his face. The wall behind him was crushed, sending him into the building. Orochimaru hissed, hitting tables and chairs. He raised his head, and then laughed, ignoring his bleeding and deformed face. You look a little angry, Jiraiya-kun. Not even a little. I just don't want to give you rest. But I am disappointed you attacked Sensei in this village. I'm going to make sure we bury you today, Orochimaru, Jiraiya replied in a dead serious tone. That is a little scary, but should you be so focused on me? I did just poison sensei, and with a special poison. This one attacks the chakra system. Even soon it is going to require a miracle to heal this one, Kakukaku. Jiraiya's eyes turned toward his sensei. It was only for a moment, but he knew the Anbu would take care of the old man. Yet the words had worried him enough to take a look, and it was all that Orochimaru needed to launch an attack. The Toad Sage folded his hands across his face to block a kick aimed at his face. His wrist guards tingled slightly at the strength behind Orochimaru's attack. In such a confined space, he did not wish to fight. He then quickly flashed away, landing into the streets. Naruto blinked after appearing in the lands of the Toads. Fukasaku was staring at him with a serious expression on his face. What's wrong? Konoha is under attack. There is an invasion by Orochimaru. Naruto laughed at this. It was by no means a happy laughter. Something was seriously wrong with their mission. They were sent after Kabuto, and if Orochimaru was attacking Konoha, there was just no way Kabuto wasn't with the Sannin. Kabuto was in Konoha at the moment, and they were in a goose chase. It was no wonder Sai was stalling. He wasn't being cynical, but there was no way Danzo didn't know about this. He couldn't prove anything, but his suspicion turned toward a collusion. Are you okay? Naruto nodded, turning serious. Treacherous people. Either Jiraiya was misled or someone else plotted this to have me and Sasuke out of the hidden leaf when this invasion was going to occur. This is just to remove our threat to the opposing forces. Someone didn't want us in that village. He paused. Who else is attacking? Suna. Naruto grimaced. It is going to be hell for Konoha. After all, Suna has a Jinchuriki. He said. Are preparations ready? Yes. Follow me. You need to hurry, Naruto-chan. Naruto did as instructed. He knew where Sasuke was. He could immediately send for him to return to Konoha. Hiruzen fell on his knees, his body writhing in pain. He felt as if something was eating him from the inside. He coughed up blood. The poison was working fast in his old body. His vision was becoming blurred. Two Anbu rushed toward him, grabbed him. Sensei. He could hear Jiraiya's worried voice. He was rushing toward him. He lifted his head, seeing the panicked man. Hiruzen smiled sadly, ignoring the blood from his mouth. Jiraiya-kun, it seems you've come to my rescue. Why did you fight him alone? You had your Anbu with you. Jiraiya was shouting. Hiruzen coughed. This was truly miserable. He had failed to protect Konoha even at this time. He failed to correct his wrongs. Orochimaru was still alive, probably laughing right now. Seeing this, Jiraiya glared at the Anbu. You're supposed to be his guards. He ordered we remain on standby, and he had things under control, the Anbu replied. We will take him to the hospital. They quickly vanished, not wanting to face the wrath of the Sannin. Jiraiya turned to face Orochimaru with an unreadable look. If only you were to live to see what would happen if he dies. Kakukaku. Orochimaru laughed mercilessly. What would you do, Jiraiya-kun? It doesn't matter. You did right coming here. We no longer have to hunt you down. You will die in this village in which you were born. Jiraiya said firmly. Orochimaru laughed once more. But I don't think so, Jiraiya. Orochimaru replied, grinning. I didn't come here without a plan. Let me show you something. What do you think about seeing the past cages destroying the village? You didn't get to say goodbye to your beloved pupil when he died. At least you will tell him how much it pained him that you failed to protect him. Jiraiya's eyes nearly popped out, registering the meaning of Orochimaru's words. You can't mean Edo Tensei, Orochimaru. But I mean that, Orochimaru. And what can you do to stop it? Orochimaru laughed as he kneeled, slamming his hands to the ground. Past Hokage, welcome back to the world of the living. Jiraiya watched, wide-eyed as 3 coffins burst from the ground. They were written first, second and fourth. This was hell. Who was going to stop Minato? Who could stop the Shodai Hokage? Worse, they were Edo Tensei, they couldn't be killed. The coffins crumbled, but not that of the fourth. The first and second were revealed. Orochimaru quickly put knives on their heads. Tobirama opened his eyes, looking at the place around him, and then glanced at his brother. Brother, it seems we have been brought back to the world of living. Indeed, Hashirama responded. Konoha, it appears so. This is one of your jutsu, Tobirama. Tobirama didn't respond. Who would use this jutsu on him like this? He created the jutsu and to think it would be used on him. His eyes fell on Jiraiya. Are you the one behind the jutsu? The snake behind you? Jiraiya responded in a measured tone. His mind was thinking of ways he could counter the Edo Tensei. Orochimaru already knew the fourth wouldn't rise. He'd tried it already after all, but he had done this for the mental anguish Jiraiya would face. Of course, his former friend didn't even know the fourth wasn't going to join the party. He held a hand sign, asserting his control over the cage. Introductions are not needed, but I am the student of Hiruzen sensei. Orochimaru said. Now, destroy Konoha for me. Nothing poetic as that. Tobirama frowned. He was being controlled like this. And he had to destroy the village. But it didn't seem like he had a choice in the matter. To be brought back in such a state, Tobirama lamented. We are not even at 30% of our power. Hashimara agreed. Is my granddaughter still alive? Jiraiya realized the Shodai was talking to him. Tsunade. Stop talking and do what you're brought here for, Orochimaru instructed. Sound wasn't expecting to see Hiruzen being brought to her while gnashing his teeth in pain, sweating bullets and looking ghostly pale. She expected him to live through this. He was still the man who held the title of God of Shinobi. To see him lying in a mat, obviously in pain, caught her off guard. She had him moved to a secure and private place where no one would see him. It wasn't going to end up doing the village in favor when they learned their leader was out of commission. This was going to be secretly guarded. No one had to know this. What happened? Poison. Damn Orochimaru, Tsunade swore, taking a look at her sensei. She bit her lip. This was bad. This was really bad. At the moment, she didn't even know what was the problem. She had to focus on removing the poison first and then worry about how to solve its effects. Get me Shizune, now. Hi. One of the Anbu departed. Where was Jiraiya when this happened? He should have at least stopped the old man from fighting Orochimaru. He was too old for this. Couldn't he see that he couldn't do everything by himself? Jiraiya-sama was busy with the summons. But he is currently busy with Orochimaru now. The Anbu paused, receiving a message from his earpiece. What now? It appears that Orochimaru has summoned both the Shodai and Nadaime Hokage into battle. Tsunade froze for a moment. Her grandfather here. Was Jiraiya going to be able to handle it? Should she go and meet him? No. The important thing was her sensei at the moment. She couldn't abandon him. Keep me updated on how it is going. If things get bad, I'll need to get there. Have someone stand close to Sakura just in case, Tsunade instructed. Now, wait outside and make sure no one comes in. This mustn't be told anyone. Hi. Who was in charge now that Sandaime was out? Maybe Shikaku. He was the one who commanded the Jonin. But Tsunade hoped that Danzo didn't step out of the shadows. He had always wanted the position of Hokage, and if he found out that Hiruzen was out of commission, he was going to attempt to seize power from him. And that would be hell. You're late, Tsunade said to Shizune as she stepped into the room. Sandaime-sama, help me out remove the poison. It is in his lungs and spreading fast. He must have breathed it. And it's starting to affect his chakra, Tsunade said with a deep frown. Sakura swept aside a sweat on her forehead as she finished healing the man beside her at the academy grounds. There were many shinobi who were bound at the training grounds, with Anbu keeping them locked up in a circle. Most of the battles had already stopped. It was good, but the damage was already done. Yet, she was glad she was able to get this much done. For her village. A pity that neither Sasuke nor Naruto were around. But what could have had gotten them sent away from the village at this stage when an invasion was about to happen? Didn't Konoha know about it? She'd not heard anything regarding it from her master. You should be fine, she said to the Jonin she'd just finished healing. She let loose of a tired breath. Fighting and healing demanded a lot of chakra. Any more of this for long periods and she wouldn't last long. She really needed to build more of her chakra reserves. I see someone is busy, Kakashi said, walking toward Sakura. Sensei. Sakura beamed seeing the Jonin. Bruised, yet looking casual as always. He was walking with Asuma sensei. The Jonin was holding to the side of his stomach. She quickly got up and walked toward him. Ah, it's nothing, Asuma said, trying to wave off the girl from looking concerned for him. Let me see, Sakura said. She'd heard those words so many times. Not everyone was willing to admit to their pain. Even when some were walking toward the edge of a cliff, walking toward death, they would still smile and say they were fine. Just for the sake of those around him. Asuma relented and removed his hand. There was a deep gash. Sakura frowned. He obviously took one of those shinobi pills to stop much of the bleeding. Her hands glowed as she started healing the wound. That's nasty. I was fighting a wind user. He was much better than me, Asuma admitted. Never seen anyone use wind abilities like him. Sooner. Yeah. His name was Baki. Kakashi nodded. The Jonin from the hidden sand. He was truly a powerful shinobi. Well, at least you made it through. Asuma bitterly smiled. Only because he fled during the battle. He suddenly just fled after some sand shinobi came to him. Kakashi adopted a thoughtful look on his face. Suna had already started retreating. There hadn't been just about 1,000 shinobi attacking them. They had banked on the summons and the Jinchuriki to do the damage. Something must have happened. We didn't even see the Kazekage. In a battle like this, he would have been around. I heard some say they had been tricked and betrayed. You worked with Orochimaru, that was going to happen. But they still didn't know anything. They would have to figure things out once things are calm. We'll know what happens. Get healed soon so we can go see if we are needed. There is still the Jinchuriki. I'm hoping he also left with the others, Asuma said. He had no desire to see a Bayu in the village. It was just going to cause more bloodshed. There was already enough destruction. The snakes had done a number on the village. Yeah, sensei, Sakura started in a worried tone. Are Naruto and Sasuke fine? They are. You don't have to worry about them. Kakashi replied with an eye smile. But honestly, he was worried for his two students. They had been sent on a mission to Orochimaru when the snake was coming here. It was bad news. Something was obviously prepared for them. And Kakashi hoped that the two would be wiser. They were strong, but there was no such thing as invincibility in this world of shinobi. Powerful shinobi have been killed. He hoped it was nothing of that kind. A pity, if Naruto had been around, this would have done well to improve his image in the village. Thank you. Asuma was cut off when an explosion of chakra ripped through the village. The Jonin tensed. The malicious chakra was not human. The potency, it was that of a Bayu. It had to be the one tail. Just when they thought it was over. If there was any confirmation it was the Bayu needed, its laughter and cries of freedom confirmed everything. The village trembled slightly as it jumped up for a moment. Sakura, stay here, Kakashi ordered, lifting his arm headband. Without warning, he disappeared, rushing toward the direction of the Bayu. Asuma stared toward the direction. It wasn't even close to them, yet he could see it towering over the buildings, already swatting aside shinobi. He smiled at Sakura. That is a fight you don't want to join. He said, before he too disappeared. The young ones had to be protected. It was always like this. A policy of his father to send out only Jonin to fight. The young ones only went out when resources were stretched to the limit. What the hell is going on out there? Tsunade could hear the explosions outside. She couldn't focus clearly. And Anbu went inside them. We need to move the Sandaime Hokage now. We can't move him at a time like this. No choice. The Bayu is aiming toward the hospital with its jutsu. We don't know if it can be stopped. Tsunade swore and then nodded. Take Shizune with you, she then jumped out of the window. The moment she stepped out, the few that were inside were already being taken out. It seemed that most battles had stopped. And Jiraiya couldn't come to the rescue. As far as the Anbu told her, he was locked in a powerful barrier with Orochimaru and still fighting a never-ending battle. She jumped to the top of the hospital and widened her eyes. A tailed beast bomb. It was destroying everything on its path, charging toward the hospital. She jumped down. What the hell are you doing still standing there? She shouted at the terrified Chunin. Ino flinched hearing the sound of that woman's voice. But how were they supposed to avoid that? The hospital was going to end up being destroyed at this rate. Move. The second she said those words, there was a puff of smoke in the air, just seconds away from the tailed beast bomb reaching them. Great. Naruto swore, looking at the tailed beast bomb rushing toward him. He had to be summoned just to face this. He couldn't try to deflect it. He wasn't sure there would be enough power to send it away from the village. If he was alone, he could just use Mokuton to protect himself. But deflecting it meant that it would explode. He had to contain the explosion and that was just going to put him in danger. He landed down, summoning the Kyuubi's chakra. A huge wooden hand sprouted from the ground, just enough of him. Its palms open. At least, it would be able to absorb a little of the jutsu. Wood release, wooden locking wall. Covering a wide area in a circle around him, wooden pillars burst from the around, rising way high. They left a huge gap in front, and a second later, the tailed beast bomb went inside. In a flash, the wall then closed, creating a huge dome of timber. Orange chakra then surrounded the timber as a powerful explosion tore through. Boom! The chakra hadn't been quick enough. The explosion blasted the timber away as if it was nothing, sending splinters flying in all directions. The shockwave shattered glasses, and they were sent flying back into the hospital before the chakra, acting like a barrier, contained the explosion. Ino quickly got up. The shockwave had been so powerful that some were hit by the wooden splinters. Some crashed into the glasses. But she didn't care about that. Not that she could feel pain. No, Naruto was in that explosion. Even now, the chakra was holding it in, she couldn't see anything inside, just debris crashing into the chakra that refused to break down. It was pressing, and the chakra barrier was flexible enough to be stretched, yet it did not break. Ino was worried. Her heart was racing. Naruto had to be fine. He had just returned from the training. She hadn't enjoyed much of her time with her. Things hadn't changed that much for him. He hasn't become Hokage. He couldn't be dead. He had to be fine. Naruto, she shouted, hoping and praying that he could hear her. That kind of cry worried Tsunade as she stared at the barrier. She could see some seals. It wasn't just our chakra. The Kyuubi's chakra. There was fuinjutsu within. She bit her lip. The brat couldn't be dead. He was a nice kid. A little different, but a nice kid with hopes. If something happened to him, she was going to blame the Sandaime. When the barrier finally died down, she wasn't the only one who moved toward the dying debris. But this wasn't the important matter. Shukaku was still running rampant on the sides, shouting something about the Kyuubi. There was a huge crater after everything became visible. It was like a deep hole. But there was no sign of Naruto. He couldn't have died, right? Her heart raced a bit. Until she saw him, landing at the edge of the crater, surrounded by a strange-looking chakra. Ino dashed past her. Tsunade smiled and shook her head. Kakashi looked away from the explosion and turned to face Shukaku. His body felt crushed. The second he'd rushed into the battle, he'd come at the receiving end of the beast's deadly sand jutsu. Unlike the Kyuubi, this one knew sand jutsu and they were brutal. There wasn't even time to worry about Naruto. At the moment, the problem still existed. This thing could launch another attack. I'm gonna have to open the 8 gates, Kakashi. Guy said in a serious tone. You'll die in the end. I will use Kamui. It is too big for you to take out like that. If you two are done, come here, I'll tell you how to solve this problem. Gamabunta shouted at the two. He was already running out of chakra to begin with. Both Guy and Kakashi jumped toward the Toad Chief. The summoning is going to be undone any moment now. Do you see that kid above T? Gamabunta was forced to halt talking to put his sword in front as a shield as the Bayou sent its tail crashing toward them. The blow sent him skidding backwards. And then he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Falling to the ground, Guy looked at Kakashi. What was he about to say? I guess we have to target the host. That was dangerous, but still nowhere near the strength of the Bayudama of the Kyuubi, even in its half strength. They couldn't even be compared. But still, it was dangerous. He tried to calm his breathing, his upper clothing was burnt off but there was no wound on him. Not even a little. The Yata mirror still glowed around him. After a moment, he let it go. Without it, he would have most likely sustained some serious injuries. Or maybe not. He took that risk to save lives. Besides, the Kyuubi was more motivated to see him come out on top, saying it wasn't going to have its host lose to a power from that damn Tanuki. There was competition there. Naruto. Naruto turned his head without getting up. He found Ino, almost in tears. He raised an eyebrow. Why do you look like you want to cry? He asked despite the situation. I was worried about you. She yelled. Perhaps to some people, it looked as if he had been in trouble. But not even for a second had Naruto thought his life was in danger. Naruto smiled. I had things under control. You were in that explosion. How did you have it under control? She said those words a little too quickly. Naruto just shook his head. He felt warmed that she cared so much for him. Happy, he was. He grinned, a little silly. He really was happy to know that she cared for him to such an extent. He stood up, dusting himself up, and then looked ahead at the Shukaku. While I'm happy, and would like to chat with you, there is still a job to be done. Tsunade was upon them. Are you alright? Naruto held out his hands. Yeep, he replied. That was nothing. Tsunade nodded. How lucky to be him. He must have gone into that with a plan that could work, not trying to take chances by using a plan that sacrificed his life. She smiled. The smile disappeared for a moment as she thought about the Sandaime. She wasn't going to say anything. Well, then, I should go. He didn't give anyone a chance to respond as he suddenly disappeared along gusts of wind. So, I just have to wait. The Jinchuriki and the transformation will be undone, Naruto replied to the Kyuubi as he hopped through buildings, rushing toward the next opponent. Yes, but I would prefer it if you used a bit of my power to beat that Tanuki into submission. No time for that, Naruto replied, landing in between Kakashi and Guy. Naruto, Kakashi replied with an eye smile. The Anbu were trying by all means to attack Gaara. But the Beiyu would not stand still. It was protecting Gaara at all costs. You're okay. No time. Order everyone to clear out of the area. The blonde said. We have to wake him up. Either you or Guy have to beat him. I'll hold the Beiyu still. Why do we have to clear out? Kakashi got the answer when the Beiyu turned toward them. Its chakra output just increased. He knew it was angry. It can sense the Beiyu inside of you. Yup. And they don't get along. Some competition along the Beiyu. The one inside me claims it is more powerful because it has more tails and the one in front weaker because it has just one. Naruto said. Need to move it out of the village. Just in case it gets feisty. Gates are closed. If they aren't opened by the time I get there, I'll destroy them. Kakashi shook his head. Let's move out, Guy. Yes, my rival. Guy replied. If I get him first, we tie our matches. Don't make this a competition. How is he going to hold it still, by the way? We'll see. Naruto needed to get the Bijuu's attention, and so he summoned one tail's worth of the Kyuubi's chakra. Kyuubi, Shukaku roared before bursting into laughter. Haha, even the mighty Kyuubi got sealed by a human. And look, I'm free and you're locked. The Beiyu roared into laughter once more. Let me out, Naruto. You can switch with me. I won't do anything. I just want to teach that Tanuki a lesson. Naruto ignored the Kyuubi. Now that it was sitting in a special place, it was possible for it to control his body. But he had put on a protection that stopped it from doing so. Even in his sleep, it could not. Even when they had a forced link that allowed it to give him its chakra. Naruto dashed straight toward Shukaku. The Beiyu lifted its right hand, trying to smash him. Naruto watched it all the way down and then jumped to the left as the hand hit the ground. Chunks of earth rose upon the colossal, lifting dust. Naruto landed safely and waved at the Beiyu, smiling. Come, weakest among the Beiyu. I don't even need the Kyuubi to deal with you. He blasted past the Beiyu in great speed. Almost like lightning. What? Shukaku dashed toward him, crushing everything in its way as it chased after Naruto in anger. Buildings and shinobi alike were swatted to the side it ran. The closed gates were ahead of him in a straight line and they were not opened. There was no choice. Naruto summoned 3 more tails and while running, he started forming a small-tailed beast bomb. It was difficult, almost impossible for him to do it while running. He asked the Kyuubi to do it for him. Stop running. And having to hear that voice behind him. So, he let the Kyuubi manage that process. Once done, he launched the miniature-tailed beast bomb straight toward the village gates. Boom! It exploded into a blinding light upon contact with the village gates. Naruto couldn't see whether the gates were destroyed or but he just ran and jumped where the jutsu had hit. Lucky for him, there was a gaping hole. Shukaku just rammed through what remained of the gates, even hitting the walls. It found Naruto standing still. Outside, the chakra of the Kyuubi no longer surrounded him. I'll make this quick. And the Kyuubi says good night. Shukaku dashed toward Naruto. Mokuton, Hote no Jutsu. Shukaku came to a complete halt when a gigantic wooden hand sprouted from the ground, between him and the blonde. His eye shifted around, seeing 4 more. The damn things were his size and surrounded him. To get out, he would need sheer strength. Damn Mokuton. He cursed inwardly. He then grinned, thinking how joyous it would be for him to seal away the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. The Bayu was forced to do an amazing feat of agility when a giant wooden splinter crept from below him. It almost skewered through his belly. But he managed to jump away before he could be impaled. Oh, Naruto clapped his hands, impressed. For someone your size, that was impressive. But you forget, he pointed behind the Bayu. Shukaku's eye snapped back, shouted angrily when one of the gigantic hands grabbed his tail. He hit the ground, causing a powerful shockwave in an attempt to break free, but he only succeeded in causing tremors and sending dust to the sides. I won't be sent back like this. Konoha Senpu. That loud voice made Shukaku freeze for a second. He hadn't thought the insects would follow him. His tail held, he tried to swat away the Konoha shinobi but was not fast enough. Guy flashed in front of the sleeping Gaara along with Kakashi who appeared behind. Guy's attack hit the Jinchuriki on his forehead while Kakashi on the back of his head. Both quickly jumped up as the Shukaku started to violently shake. No, I won't go back inside. Gaara's eyes snapped open as a result of the attacks. His head throbbing. His eyes widened slightly, seeing a huge wooden hand rushing toward him. The fist hit Shukaku in the face, silencing its cries, and then it started to crumble into dust, with Gaara being freed. While Naruto was undoing his jutsu, Kakashi and Guy landed beside him. But the three were forced to jump away when they were suddenly showered by violent twisting winds. Naruto's eyes snapped toward Gaara, watching what was a puppet grab the Jinchuriki and then fleeing into the tree. They landed gracefully but none thought of the chase. Naruto released a long breath. That was scary, he said with a smile. For a moment, I thought that thing was going to crush me. Both Guy and Kakashi stared at him. Was he not the one teasing a Bayu with an indifferent mask? Was he not the one not the least bothered by its chilling killing intent? So, who hit him first? Naruto asked, changing the subject. A draw. You're still ahead, my rival, Guy said as they started walking back to the village. I have to go look for my students, he said before leaving the two. Kakashi took a look at Naruto. Not even a wound or scratch. Healing powers. And with what he had taken, you'd think it didn't happen. He smiled. You came back at the right time. Yeah, Naruto agreed. But it seems that is all over. Sasuke is going to be disappointed that he won't get here in time to see the fun of it. Well, it's a plus for me. I'm glad I signed the Toad contract. Would have returned to find the leaf in smokes. It is already in smokes, Kakashi pointed out. Could have been worse. Naruto shrugged. A flash of the tailed beast bomb exploding in front of him made him flinch. I'm going to have nightmares about that. Never again am I doing it. Anything could have happened. What if the Yara mirror hadn't activated in time? What the barrier couldn't withstand the power? He'd already tested it but never like that when he was inside. He took the brunt of the explosion. You weren't sure it would work. Naruto spat out blood. Everything was done in haste. I wasn't sure about how effective it would be. Worse, I understated the shockwave. Hit me badly, that was when I feared for the worst. Kakashi smiled. You made it through, he looked at the blood Naruto spat out. But are you really okay? Yeah, must have bled internally. Even when you heal, it doesn't actually clean the blood. I must get checked or otherwise I won't be okay, Naruto replied. Kakashi nodded. But before he could respond, a squad of Anbu surrounded them. Uzumaki, Hitaki Kakashi, the battle is not over yet. What now? Jiraiya-sama is still locked in battle with Orochimaru and the past cages. They are Edo Tensei, so, he isn't winning. Nor he is losing. But it will only be a matter of time before they wear him out. Naruto frowned. Having looked at the Forbidden Scroll, he understood a little bit about Edo Tensei. And the past cages. His father couldn't be there. His soul was trapped within the belly of the Shinigami. It had to be the Shodai and Nadaime. What kind of barrier is holding him in? It is best if you come and see. Kabuto stepped into the barrier after being given entry by the Sound 4. He was impressed by the power of the past cages. Even with so little power they were still able to do this much. But more impressive was Jiraiya. The Toad Sage using his Sage Jutsu was holding his own. He had given Orochimaru even some beating. It was a matter of endurance at this point. No matter how many times he destroyed them, the cage just came back to life again. But the Sannin wasn't stopping either. Truly, Jiraiya was a powerful warrior. In this state, he could be hard to beat for anyone. Kabuto worried for his master. The host had received a number of beatings. It had to be too weak by now. And they had already achieved their purpose. It was just best to leave now. Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru narrowed his eyes toward Kabuto while within the trees created by the Shodai Hokage. He was still having fun here. What? Kabuto. The one tail had been handled and Suna has retreated and some are held by Leaf Shinobi. This is the only battle that is still taking place. Orochimaru frowned slightly. Things had happened a little too fast. He'd been hasty to poison his sensei. But he hadn't any other choice. The old could still move and the Sound 4 had yet to appear. It was ridiculous that Jiraiya was still moving freely regardless of his best attempts and he had genuinely thought he was the better shinobi. No, he had always been better. If he could use his Sage Jutsu, he would have already crippled Jiraiya. His eyes turned toward Jiraiya for a moment and then hissed. It appears that Naruto-kun has found some way back to the village but not with Sasuke-kun. If we leave now, we can intercept him on his way back. Orochimaru grinned at this. Our escape route. I have prepared the diversion. The hospital and the academy were too guarded. But the diversion is there. Good, Orochimaru said. Get everything ready. I can't leave the two Hokage here. They might get sealed away. I still need to study things and ensure how to make them stronger for next time. But if Konoha chases after us, I will use them. Hi, Orochimaru-sama. Orochimaru stepped away from the trees into the clearing, folded his hands across his chest, holding the sword of Kusanagi. It appears that we must call it quits, Jiraiya-kun. I would have loved to play with you for a little while longer but time is no longer on my side. Besides, there is prey I must hunt. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes. Prey. Did he mean Sasuke? By now, he knew there had been some misinformation about the intel he received about the whereabouts of Kabuto. It only meant that Naruto and Sasuke were sent to Orochimaru's hideout on purpose. Did the Sannin plan to take them? Do you think I'm going to let you escape after everything? Jiraiya asked with narrowed eyes. Kakukaku, Orochimaru laughed. You should worry about Sensei at this point, Jiraiya-kun. I can leave here, as he said, the barrier became undone. Anbu and other shinobi were surrounding them all. How do you plan on escaping like this, Orochimaru? You're trapped. You have nowhere else to go. Surrender. Maybe some other day. The Sound 4 surrounded him. Do say hello to Naruto-kun for me. Tell him I was going to greet him after this, but... The buildings that surrounded them started to explode one by one. Explosive tags. Jiraiya heard someone cry out. Along the street, the building crumbled, dust and flames picking up. The shinobi scrambled in an attempt to run for cover. Even Jiraiya was forced to run for cover and within that commotion, Orochimaru seemingly vanished into thin air. When everything cleared, only 5 buildings had been destroyed. Apartment blocks. The good thing was that there was no one there. The bad thing was that the cage was still around. Someone get a Hyuga to check for more tags in the buildings. We must search the entire village. The message had a chilling effect. There was some Sound shinobi who had already been within the village. Some came through the forest of death. But if they managed to set up the explosives in those buildings, they could have done it in other buildings. If so, no one was safe from entering any building until it was checked for tags. So this is why you refused to use your senjutsu. Jiraiya turned toward Naruto, who was still shirtless. He was with Kakashi. God was he happy to see the blonde. But the old man. Even though the blonde had been a little distant with the old man, knowing about his state was going to hit him hard. He looked happy now. It was best not to burst that bubble. Maybe soon it would be able to heal the old man. It is fine now, Fukasaku-sama. Jiraiya said to the Toad Sage. He really did look ugly in this form. It was no wonder Naruto looked amused and other people had seen him. He swore. Are you embarrassed now about your appearance? Of course I am. Then don't summon us again. Ma shouted. Perfect your Sage Jutsu. And with that, the two disappeared in a puff of smoke. Not you too, Kakashi. The Jonin I smiled. I'm just worried you did that when they're still around, he said, pointing at the two cage. As he said that, the coffins appeared from the ground and they were swallowed. Ah, never mind. Jiraiya let loose of a long breath. He was glad this is over. The village was still alive. They had to deal with the traitors in Suna. But worse, the Sandaime Hokage. Jiraiya worried about his sensei. He looked around. No one was celebrating. The shinobi were busy at work, lifting the rubbles to look for anyone who might be trapped. It was a win, but still felt like a loss. It would be a loss if the Sandaime dies. He shook his head. He should stop thinking about it. Orochimaru had just said something that made him dreadful, fearing the worst. His eyes turned to Naruto, who was also looking around. Everyone is safe. Civilians are in emergency shelters, the Sannin said, turning serious. Tell me what happened in your mission, Naruto. So, even Jiraiya was suspicious about something. Sai was just making us run in circles. Now I see someone wanted us out of the village. I think Orochimaru was sending you on a trap. He said something about a prey. He is talking about Sasuke. He may be in trouble. Naruto frowned. He wasn't happy about letting the Sannin go free. Sasuke is on the way back to the Leaf. The message must have reached him. If he does come across Orochimaru, it might be trouble. Considering he knew it is likely they'll come across him. We should go, Kakashi said. I can summon my hunter dogs to try to find Sasuke. Naruto shook his head. I'll go. It's too dangerous for you alone, Naruto. Don't try to do everything by yourself. You still took on that explosion. Kakashi said in a serious tone. The tailed beast bomb? Jiraiya asked. He had felt the explosion and had been worried when Orochimaru started giggling about it. I'm fine. Besides, I'm not alone. I will be with Sasuke. Orochimaru is already worn out from this battle. As much as I hate that bastard, I'm not going to try to face him if I come across him before I meet Sasuke. My priority is Sasuke. You two are needed in the village. You need to stand with the Sandaime. We don't know if there are more attacks coming. If we leave, who is going to support the old man? Naruto said, looking up. The others will feel safer when Sharingan no Kakashi is around along with Jiraiya. I can afford to leave. Just be careful. We'll have Anbu follow you. As long as they can keep up. Naruto said, releasing a bit of chakra. Both Kakashi and Jiraiya felt it blast past them but held the ground. Wish me luck. And like that, he was gone. That kid is going to be a monster. Jiraiya said proudly. He already is, Kakashi said in a serious tone. That was just a slight increase. And the chakra became visible. It was potent. Naruto had always had ridiculous amount of chakra and it appears he had increased on that even farther. You might be right. You want to tell me what is happening. I saw your look when Naruto mentioned the third. I'm sure Naruto did too but was just ignoring it. Jiraiya looked around and then whispered to Kakashi. He is in a bad state. I don't know his current condition. But Orochimaru poisoned him. Said something about chakra poisoning. Soon it is busy with him. People are going to start noticing and they will panic. Yeah, Jiraiya grimaced. Hopefully by then we will have a picture on how he is. The old man has always been around. His presence was been never ending in the village. Don't want to worry the villagers about it. Stay here, I'm going to check up on him. Temari was running along with Kankuro, heading toward Suna. Baku was waiting for them ahead. For them, they had insisted on not going ahead without their brother. Worse, their father was killed. It wasn't a sad thing at this moment. For Temari, the good thing was that she was able to save her younger brother. That Naruto had been watching her. He had seen her even lift her fan. She had hesitated swinging it because she knew he was watching her yet still inviting her to attack. It was a mystery to her as to why he did that. She'd breathed out when they had chosen against attacking. They wouldn't have been able to get through. You think Orochimaru killed the old man because he didn't want to go through with this anymore? Kankuro asked. Temari nodded. Likely. The original plan had been merely to scare the wind daimyo. But I suppose he got ensnared along the way. But still decided against it. Orochimaru had no other reason to kill him if they were still on the same wavelength. Good thing for us Konoha isn't charging. Smiling bitterly, Temari replied. Hardly matters. They had better things to do. They know where we live. They are going to come after us once they have recovered. Oh, but who would have thought Gaara would lose? That's not important if Konoha is going to come after us, Kankuro said. He was worried about Temari. She was the girl and the older one. They were the children of the Kazekage. If something was going to happen to someone, it was going to be them, and Temari would be first to go. I know what you. Temari trailed off, halting as she sensed movement ahead. Kankuro also stopped. Deidara appeared out of nowhere along with Sasori. We will be taking the Jinchuriki with us, Deidara announced in a casual tone. He then turned to Sasori. Sasori-sama, this isn't fair, he is it out cold. We can't show which one of us has superior art. On our next target, Sasori replied. Temari swore. Sasori was an S-rank criminal. This was bad. Really bad. But she wasn't just going to give up on her brother like that. They were going to fight. Jiraiya found both Tsunade and Shizune sweating bullets as they exhausted themselves in trying to work on the third. He didn't say anything but just watched with an expressionless look. Worried for his sensei. After what felt like eternity, Tsunade breathed and then turned to him. The old man was breathing. That was good. But the look on Tsunade's face didn't say good news. She settled down and then looked back at the old man. Since you are here, I assume everything is alright outside. Invasion is over. Orochimaru fled. Naruto has given chase. Tsunade stared at the man. Are you trying to have the kid killed? He already took on a Bayudama and had to face with a Bayu. Jiraiya held up his hands. He didn't understand why she seemed angry all of the sudden. As far as he was concerned, Naruto and Tsunade were not close. Sure, they met a couple of times while she was checking up on him, but they were not that close. In fact, he should be the one getting worried and yelling at people for letting the blonde go alone. Orochimaru is weakened. I did a number on him before he fled. Besides, it was his decision to go and he is going to be with Sasuke. There is a chance that Orochimaru might try to get the jump on the Uchiha. It couldn't be allowed for Orochimaru to gain the power of the Sharingan in that way. He had to be stopped. It was a bitter pill to swallow that he allowed the snake to escape the village with his life, but if both Sasuke and Naruto returned alive, then Orochimaru would have his day. It is always their choice, Jiraiya. Always their choice. They love this village too much, and for what? Jiraiya closed his eyes for a moment and then faced Tsunade. When did you get close to him? We are not close, she corrected. But I have gotten to know quite a bit about his story. He is Minato's son and someone from my grandmother's clan. He has it rough and I see why Sensei cares so much for him. He is a nice kid. Dangerous, yes, but a nice kid. It would have been sad if he died in the same way as his father without experiencing happiness. He had to be beat against taking such measures. He was going to die young and leave some people crying for him. There are some people who love him. Don't think he realizes it himself. But there are those who care for him deeply, and if he does something reckless like that again, they are only going to be sad. Tsunade shook her head. Maybe she was worrying for nothing. He is a big kid, Tsunade. You've been around him, you know him. The thing, despite all that power and mindset, I only see a kid who wants to be appreciated. A kid who wants his existence to be acknowledged. Tsunade looked back at the third. You told him. No, I didn't want to worry him when he might face Orochimaru. You do know that if he faces Orochimaru, that bastard is going to gloat about it, and he might even use it against him by saying the old man is dead, which is why nobody said anything to him. Jiraiya shrunk under Tsunade's glare. He didn't consider this much. He was embarrassed to even admit it. If Orochimaru does that, he will only guarantee his death. Jiraiya wasn't confident as he would have liked. How is he? Stable. We removed the poison, but damage is done to his chakra system. If he gets out of this, his days will be numbered and won't be able to use chakra again. Any attempt to need it may end his life. Tsunade shook her head sadly. Still a lot to be done. Jiraiya nodded. I'm going out there. Some people may be starting to ask questions. And the village is basically without a leader now since he had no planned successor. Tsunade didn't reply to this. Kabuto. A weary Orochimaru said as he came to a halt, seeing a bullet rushing down toward them. No doubt, it was Sasuke. That meant the Uchiha was flying with Sai. It wasn't supposed to be like that. Has he been betrayed? Hardly surprising given what he was working with. Either way, he didn't think this posed much of a problem. Sasuke was still just Sasuke after all. But perhaps they should have brought Karen with them. When it came to avoiding people, she did best with her sensory abilities. Boom. Sasuke crash landed in front of the group. He hit the trees, shattering everything below him with a part of his Susanoo that was activated. Sasuke-kun, how nice of you to join us. I thought you'd be waiting for us at Otogakure. Sasuke stared. The fact that Orochimaru was here meant that the invasion was over by now. He frowned. He had missed a great deal. Naruto could have taken him with him. To even get to this point was because Sai had been willing to give direction and take him on flight, which was an easier method of traveling and far faster. But if Orochimaru was here, having fled Konoha meant that Naruto was just behind. There was no way that Naruto was going to let Orochimaru get away. Sasuke respected that the Sannin was Naruto's target. But he was here. If Naruto wasn't quick enough, he would have to disable the Sannin. He couldn't let him leave. Orochimaru, Sasuke said, ignoring the 5 beside the Sannin. You must have fled from Konoha. But I could not wait for you. Kakukaku, Orochimaru laughed. I didn't flee. I left because the objective was completed. The leaf is in smokes now. I see, then you must die here. Don't be hasty, Sasuke-kun. We must talk after all. Sasuke raised an eyebrow. Most likely an attempt to recruit him. It was laughable that this man was trying to recruit him. Orochimaru was not worthy of the Sharingan. He was willing to indulge. To kill time. You must have already known that Naruto is more powerful than you. I built him. I can make you even more powerful. Powerful enough to kill Itachi-kun. Sasuke almost laughed. Orochimaru was 3 years late. Naruto's strength was great. Had the Sannin offered him that opportunity years ago, he would have jumped on the opportunity. Thinking of it, Naruto didn't even tell him against the idea when he admitted it. It was telling. You're late in your offer, besides, you did not build Naruto. I watched him train, give everything he has to become what he is. Taking credit for his strength is mischievous. As you are now, you cannot offer me anything, Sasuke then smirked. I don't even think you're more powerful than me to make that offer. If you can beat me, maybe I would consider it. You dare speak to Orochimaru-sama that way. Know your place, Uchiha. Sakon snapped, charging forward. Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan flashed to life. Compared to the speeds he was used to seeing from Naruto, this was nothing. He wanted to kill, but he couldn't waste time dealing with nuisance. He waited until the man was just above him and the Susanoo flared to life. Just parts of it. It wasn't holding its bow but a sword. Sakon couldn't move away. The sword just materialized in front of him. There was no time to stop his momentum. It pierced through his chest. He cried, gnashing his teeth. The Uchiha then dismissively hurled him toward the side without even looking at him. He swore, being sent flying away with a large gaping hole in his chest that was going to see him dead. Orochimaru stopped the others from charging toward the Sasuke. It was obvious, Sasuke was stronger than him at this point. They needed to use the cursed seal to make a move from on the Uchiha. He has really improved, hasn't he, Kabuto? Indeed, Orochimaru-sama. The power of the Sharingan becomes more interesting each time we see it. If the Sharingan can do this little things, what more can the Rinnegan do? Exceedingly well. The man who wields those eyes claims to be God, after all. And his power cannot be compared to that of Sasuke or Itachi. We could do more if we had Sasuke with us. He is a living Uchiha after all, Kabuto suggested. They already had valuable data mined from Naruto. But it would worth to have the specimen on current level and Sasuke on the other side. It could even accelerate their research by years. He doesn't look like he will go willingly. What must we do? Naruto-kun. The answer came when Naruto landed behind them, a menacing chakra surrounding him. Kabuto became wary of the situation. He should have known Sasuke was buying time. You're late. Kabuto heard Sasuke shout out. Naruto's response was nonchalant. I had things to do. The blonde replied. Take out the nuisance, will you? We must deal with Orochimaru quickly and go back to the leaf. It appears there are matters that are troubling. Since when do you order me around? If you want to get Orochimaru, you must clean up the mess yourself. Sasuke said, folding his hands across his chest. You're going to be like that now. Sasuke shrugged. Your battle. Udon, Tayuya, go. Orochimaru commanded the remaining 3. Take caution. Orochimaru turned to Naruto, grinning. I'm surprised they let you come this far, Naruto-kun. Why would I come after you? Well, My sensei is most likely dead. If not, he is going to be soon. I took time to prepare my gift for him, Orochimaru said with a laugh. Or, they didn't tell you about it. How cruel of Jiraiya-kun. As he said those words, Udon charged toward him while Tayuya and dashed toward Sasuke. Naruto stood still. He had known something was up when Jiraiya looked at him. The fact that the Sandaime wasn't in battle with Orochimaru had meant something had happened. He had felt personal responsibility and would have wanted to face his former student himself. Naruto hadn't wanted to think about it then. He didn't want to think about the possibilities of the even now, but hearing it from Orochimaru quite honestly pressed him the wrong way. Just the way the man laughed. It was the man who trained. And yet he was willing to kill him. Despite his lies and deception, the Sandaime was the only person who had so much as showed him love. Naruto had known to be cared for in the hands of the third. He wasn't moving when Udon landed in front of him. Perhaps thinking he had been caught in shock. The man swung a high right foot toward his temple with his left leg rooted to the ground. It was indeed coming in quick and fast. Yet not fast enough. Naruto's left hand just snatched out and he caught the incoming kick. His hand was firm around the ankle. His arm moved at the time as his right foot. The movement was a blur. Udon didn't see anything until he was caught and he heard the cracking sound. It was loud. His eyes shot down. Naruto's foot was planted on his knee. The pain shot through his leg up to his spine and head. He cried out, as his body began to fall. Naruto had just broken his leg around the knee. It was standing unnaturally. Bastard, you broke my leg. I will get you for this. His eyes shot up to the blonde's. YHE grip on him was unnatural. He realized why. Chakra was visible around him. Potent chakra. And the look on Naruto's face made him realize the blonde was not a happy person. To say that was slightly an understatement. He was seething. Arg. He felt a stab his chest. He glanced down, a kunai. The blonde didn't remove the kunai, but left it there as he pushed him back. Udon fell on his back, ignored the pain. I would appreciate it if you didn't get up. I have important matters to deal with your master. Udon swore. Even with a broken leg, a kunai deep into his chest, blood slowly dripping, he managed to push himself up and staggered. He put a hand on the kunai and glared at Naruto. This isn't over. You think a mere stab can stop me? I'll show you the power of us Sound 4. Naruto held up his right hand, waving an index finger. Why do you think I left that kunai in your chest? You think I do not know about the cursed seal? Udon glanced down. There was a spike-it chakra on the kunai. His heart pounded furiously. Fear gripped him tightly as his eyes started to widen. Disappear. Just as he tried to pull it out, an explosion blew him up. The nature of it was that his body was torn apart. The head went upwards, the left shoulder blown to the left and the right to the right. Followed by a shower of blood and guts. His lower body dropped to the ground. None of it hit Naruto as he protected himself from it all by a wall of chakra. Sasuke wasn't planning on wasting time on the two charging toward him. What Orochimaru had said about the Sandaime had to be serious. It meant the situation was grave at the leaf. And Naruto's response to the Sannin meant he wasn't just saying this to rile up the blonde. He was indifferent to it. He didn't particularly care for the Sandaime. But he understood that the old man was valuable to Naruto. Neither were attacking him head-on. After what he had just shown, it made sense. He could simply do it again. But Sasuke wasn't a one-trick pony. I don't have time to waste on you. Sasuke said forcefully, his Mangekyo building up chakra. Amaterasu. Seeing the turn of events, Orochimaru turned to Kabuto. Kabuto, go now. I want to test how these two have grown. I will join you shortly. Orochimaru-sama, shouldn't I stay behind? No, you cannot face either. Sasuke's eyes make ninjutsu useless. Any jutsu you use, B will use. Naruto is a Jinchuriki and he appears in the mood right now. Go, for I can't afford to lose you. Basically, Orochimaru didn't want to spend time focusing on him. There was no telling that Sasuke wasn't going to target him. And seeing the black flames, that was an almost impossible jutsu to escape. He'd never seen the flames that couldn't be extinguished, but he had heard of them. Kabuto glanced at Tayuya. The way she cried and rolled meant without trying to activate the cursed seal meant that the flames truly burned more than the usual flames. I'll be awaiting your presence, Orochimaru-sama. Kabuto said, bowing slightly. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.